Welcome to the Lunar Portal Podcast with Morgan
and Ina. We are the faces and voices behind the Lunar Portal Moon Guide and Calendar, a project fueled by our shared passion for aligning with natural rhythms and holding spaces for playful curiosity and empowered living.
You are now entering a cosmic space in which we aim to have an intergalactic conversation with each other and with you.
We hope these conversations offer us all an opportunity to continuously discover the landscape of our own unique inner universe while allowing the energies of the moon to inform our personal and collective essence and experience with every passing phase.
We are thrilled and excited to have you along for this conversational journey. Unscripted and off the cuff, we never really know what might emerge or come to light as we share ideas, insights, and our own experiences with cyclical living, continuously attuning ourselves more deeply to the moon and our own womb as she passes through all the cosmic energies present in the galactic universe around and within us.
With curiosity and a passion for self-inquiry, combined with our desire to be witness to the collective shifts of our times, all we really know is that we will be traversing many realms, from the shadowy subconscious underworld to the imaginative possibilities of what a new existence on Earth might look like, all while exploring this question of how does the moon in all her many phases and faces inform and guide our life experience. I want to start by talking about water. One of the songs I really loved from the playlist you put together for our Lunar Portal this month was the song Water, and there is that line, "People are like water, let them be free." And yeah, it really hit me. Like, we are, on average 60% water as humans, and how would the moon not affect us? If you look at the ocean and how the tides work and how with the moon phases, like the water levels change and the rhythm of the ocean changes. So that must be going on inside of us with all this water. So I would like to open with that and hear your thoughts about that. I feel, it really leads to the heart of our lunar portal as well. I feel like being really deeply rooted in Earth and being present in our lives right here, but also being aware of the bigger context that affects us, even if we might not be aware of it because it's not that obvious as it is in the ocean, where you can actually see a change with the moon phases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting, as you were just talking about that, I was thinking how I definitely have that connection between the ocean and the moon, like the body of water, the ocean. But now I'm also really curious because I've been exploring my connection more deeply with like flowing streams and rivers and stuff. And I mean, ultimately, they're all leading to the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I guess some of them maybe there's many steps along the way before they get there.
That was a very bold statement.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we should check in with like a geography expert or something. But yeah, and I'm curious now to explore more how the moon might affect the flow of rivers and streams, and if there is like there has to be a connection, presumably, but what is that? And yeah, and also because we have water inside of us, like you said, it's about 60%. It's also flowing through us, right? We're like taking it in and it's coming out of us, and it's like in different ways as well, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of curiosity for sure on my part too, like exploring deeper that sense of connection between the way the moon affects all of the bodies of water on planet Earth.
Yeah, well, it's called the blue planet, so I feel it's really getting at the core of who we are. I feel in a lot of ways if we look at water and our relationship to it and what affects it, because I feel it's also like this. For me, it really symbolizes the constant exchange that's going on. Like we are taking in information, it's processed, then through moving through us, the information changes, and then we put it out there again. And so it's this constant flux of yeah, exchange and information that is happening. And I love looking at it in connection to the natural world because I feel it makes so much more sense and is less complicated, because I feel as humans we get in our thoughts and then the emotions it all gets a little complicated. And so yeah, I really yeah, I find that inspiring. So yeah, maybe to our listeners, if anybody knows about rivers and streams and how they are affected by the moon, please let us know.
Yeah, I would love that to hear people's experiences and um, what knowledge they might have around that. Um, in the idea of water flowing too, right? And how that's just a natural process that happens with water, and also how humans have come to change the flow of water a lot of the time and create certain blocks in places so that that resource can be used in a certain way somewhere. And like from observation of, seeing this happen around the world, those dams and blockages of the natural flow can be helpful for certain progressions in life and development. Yet, what often happens is they break or give way or become breached in some way, which then usually creates a lot of destruction or has the potential for a lot of destruction. And it, to me, shows how strong that flow, the need for the flow of water is on planet Earth and within us too, and coming back to our emotional bodies of that like flow of emotions. Um so this ties into a little experience that I had last night. I joined an online spring equinox gathering last minute, and part of the experience was going on a little bit of a journey with the moon. And the message that came through for me was that so there was a shadow aspect that we were exploring within ourselves too. And for me, it was a sense of control and like these little bits of like pieces of myself that still try to control things around me and the way things unfold. And like, I find it frustrating. And I'm sure people around me find it frustrating. And I'm sure the world finds it frustrating. And so I've been really exploring that. And that's been part of my exploration with the streams too, and just like, being in tune with the flow and just like letting flow happen. But the message from the moon was like, well, you would never try to control the way the moon moves through her phases. Like, and I'm like thinking, reflecting to myself, like, I would absolutely never, I would find that so ridiculous to try to be like, okay, I'm going to try to speed up the like cycle of the moon or slow it down or whatever. And my preference in that instance is to like just be in tune with the natural flow. And that's part of, what we do here and what we're creating here with the lunar portal. And so, yeah, it was just this really nice, simple message from the moon that was like, you would never try to control me. Why would you try to control any other aspect of your life? Just keep stepping into the flow and letting things evolve as they're meant to.
Oh, I love
So,
that. That's
hmm.
beautiful. Oh, wow. Yes. God, yeah. It's so ingrained, I feel, this doing and adding more, and rather staying on the surface and just going, 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 speeding things up, rather than really deepening. And I feel that's also part of what the lunar portal is for me. It's like it's a deepening. It's not taking you out of your life it's taking you deeper into your life. And I feel that's the same thing. It's just by starting to listen to our pace and our needs right in this moment and really sinking into that in different ways. That, yeah, then suddenly we feel like it's opening us up. There is so much, because from this relaxed state, so much more is possible. And I came across a beautiful quote the other day, trying to not mess it up. Um, Pain is going to push us forward until we are ready to slow down enough to get pulled by our visions. And it really spoke to me because I feel that's also what we were talking, the magnetic power of the moon and the water and how it responds. It is this, if we're taking ourselves out of that flow, then all these blockages turn up and we then respond to the pain. But it could be so much easier by just sinking deeper into, yeah, our rhythm, who we are, what we need. We get pulled by what we already know in some part of ourselves. And yeah, it's such a more easeful and I also feel empowered way to live. That's definitely what the portal timer did for me. It was like connecting me to myself and my rhythm while keeping me connected to the world and how it works because the dates are still the same. So it wasn't like this. I feel there's also this idea out there that if you want to deepen into your life, you need to disconnect from everything. And that feels really threatening to me because everything feels already so separating. But to really make the experience that to connect to myself also immediately means to connect to everything around me and, yeah, really sink deeper into my life. So, yeah, I really love that message from the moon. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
And yeah, there is no sense of, well, there's a sense of separation, but ultimately there is no separation
Yeah.
between anything, right? So anytime that we're trying to create a separation between like our inner world and the outer world, we are then stepping into that place of trying to control
Mhm.
like how things are interacting with each other. And it's like, well, just let it all be and find what works for each one of us individually in each moment, right?
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that's also at the core of the topic of this month, like mystical imagination. I feel what makes it so mystical a lot of the time is that there is no room for control. So there is this sense of the unknown. And like if you really let yourself sink into your imagination and let it carry you wherever it needs to go, then there is no control. And I feel that makes it then very mystical and maybe a little scary when really it's our natural state. And yeah, so that yeah, that
You
really.
mentioned the word expansiveness
Mhm.
in a few sentences ago, and that also really plays into that theme of mystical imagination for me, right? It's like I need to allow myself to be in that space of like limitless expansion, which does also feel like the natural state that we're meant to be in as humans. It feels much more freeing, like you said, to be in that like open state rather than like constricted and trying to create separation and stuff. And the connection between the expansiveness and the mystical imagination and like what is possible that like I find with imagination anyway that there's like all these different layers to imagination and there's like oh I could imagine things up into a certain sort of like vision and then as I continue to allow myself to like let go of the control and let further into the expansion, then the possibility of what I can imagine gets greater too. And then that's how we create our lived experience and our reality, right? I think.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. Wow, yeah.
And to tie that into the lunar portal theme that we're moving into and that has base ultimately just been activated as we entered into the sun sign of Aries and the the theme of courage and discovery and how critical that is to continuing to allow our imaginations to flow into the realms of the mystical. It's like we really have to have courage and the desire to explore and discover for to be able to step into that space of like, I don't know what's possible, so let me see what is through my imagination.
Yeah, again, courage has for me so much more to do with allowing, and that takes so much courage. I feel that's so underrated because it's the image that comes for me a lot of the time is like jumping off a cliff. So it's very much about like this drastic action that like I don't know propels you forward. And yeah, there is room for that as well. But I feel it's really this courage that is needed to just surrender and let things flow and happen is actually pretty intense. Because it is again what you said, like really letting go of that control. And that's scary as humans. Like, am I going to be safe? It's just like all these things come up that are connected to survival.
Yeah, and I feel like along the lines we've been conditioned to live in a bit of an illusion of control, right? So it takes a lot of conscious effort to step into that flow and discovery and that's a
Yeah.
courageous act in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that the freedom to choose from moment to moment, to be remembered, to be reminded of that is also really powerful for me. So that's why I really believe in the different offerings we have within the Lunar Portal, like the playlist to move to and the meditation, the writing prompts, all the different inspirational writings we offer and your galaxy painting. I feel just looking at that as well, it's just like it's already opening up your world and taking you inside in a way. And I feel to really reconnect to our sense of sovereignty in very, very small ways because they are big words like sovereignty, empowerment. How do I actually do that? How do I break that down? And also, yeah, like connecting to the natural rhythms also sounds really huge. So I feel really creating these small moments of reconnecting and really anchoring myself in what is right here in me. I feel that's really the key. That's where it all starts because the question how sometimes feels so overpowering when we have all these concepts. But yeah, that's really something I feel supports me with the Lunar Portal every month. It's just this, if everything feels overwhelming, there is like, this beautiful platter of possibilities that I can just choose from and take a moment. Sometimes it just needs 5 minutes, I feel, to really remember, oh, it's my choice. I can bring it back to me. It's not out there, somebody. And it's okay if I can't control all the different elements. It's that trust, I feel if we keep anchoring ourselves in that trust in ourselves, then we don't need that much of a kind of control anymore because we can flow. We can trust ourselves to flow. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the you brought up the question of like how when you have these ideas of like, oh, I want to be more attuned with the natural rhythms and with my own rhythms and or like explore the path of sovereignty and empowerment and wow, that
Yeah.
does feel can feel very like, oh my God, what a huge task to step towards. And that's exactly why we created the lunar portal, right? Was to answer that question in a small piece for ourselves and for other people who are drawn to it. So, yeah, so that it can be this beginning stepping stone or anywhere on the path that you're on, a stepping stone to answering or offering an answer to that question of how. And yeah, that's why we're here. And I think if there's anyone listening to this podcast right now and you're still unclear of what the Lunar Portal Guidebook is, that's okay. Ina and I have discovered through our conversations that our thought processes, both of us, can be quite abstract and we really just get into the flow of things. And it has been brought to our attention a couple of times that maybe things haven't been super clear of like, what is the Lunar Portal Guidebook? And so you're now listening to our podcast, you're in the middle of this episode and you might still be unclear of what it is, but we have created a resource kit to help guide us all through the different cycles of the moon as they enter into each new moon phase. And we've tied it into a lot astrological insights and woven in poetry and art and all of the resources that Ina just mentioned with the playlist that can be used however you wish to for movement or through other creative exploration. The meditation that you can keep returning to over and over again, a recorded meditation, the writing prompts, which can be used in so many different ways, the portal timer calendar that can help keep tracking you through your own cycles. So there's a whole bunch. I haven't even mentioned all of them here, but there are so many different resources within the guidebook that is put together in this beautiful, visually beautiful, in my opinion, resource that, yeah, is a PDF download that is also printable. And you can take it through your life in whatever way fits with your own cycles. So hopefully that becomes more and more clear for everyone who is journeying along with us in whatever part of the lunar portal experience that we're in and that you're in with us.
Yeah, you mentioned the portal timer calendar. I really reflected on how to communicate that better lately because you said like the way we communicate sometimes is a little abstract. Um, and I came across a quote from a book I used to love as a child. It's called Momo, and it's about yeah, really the recovery that what time matters, that time matters and what time actually is. And it's a world where everybody has sold their time for other benefits. And so it is this gray, dark world. And it's this little girl, Momo, who kind of frees time and really reminds people of the real values of connection and life. And so there's this beautiful quote that time is nothing but life in the end, and that resides in the human heart. And that's actually, it really led me back to the portal time and why I created it, because I really feel time for a long time was such something that felt like it was breathing down my neck like an enemy. It was just like constantly rushing, moving forwards towards something else. And the feeling that I mostly had was that I was missing my life. And I feel that's really, and missing myself a lot of the time. And I feel that, like from talking to others, I feel that's something we can all relate to some degree to, because that's often how we look at time. It's just this thing that's never enough. It's always too fast. It's like we're trying to catch up all the time. And I feel that's keeping us in such a state of survival that is really hard to create anything sustainable from and actually feel good, because I feel and remember what matters. And so I feel that's yeah, it's really for me a way to connect back to life and be present for my life. And I feel then reaching forward is so much easier, because if I'm constantly out there looking for something in the future, it's really hard. So yeah, it really brings me back to the moment. I don't actually know if I did that great of a job to make it clearer, but that's what came through my mind.
We shall see if there's any questions that arise from it or clarities. Um, yeah, the moon is such the perfect tool for changing our perception of time too, right? And I love one of the things I love about becoming more and more attuned to the moon is that it is a visual representation of time and how it moves. And it's such a steady pattern that the more and more that I track it visually, the more I like turn back into myself and recognize the different patterns within myself based on the different visual aspects of the moon in each part of its cycle. And being a very like visually driven person, I just love the fact that I can like look up to the sky and not always see the moon because sometimes it's foggy or cloudy or whatever. But it's usually not too many nights in a row that I can't look and have that like visual reminder of where I am in the cycle of the moon and then in my own cycle too. So yeah, it's it's a beautiful thing to gaze upon.
Yeah, I feel it's also such a beautiful reminder. I feel maybe a lot of what we're talking about feels very introspective and like coming back to yourself and like maybe very, yeah, I think introspective is the right word. Yeah, but just when you were talking, I felt like, but that's the beauty of the lunar portal and orienting towards the wider natural rhythms, that it's a connection point with everything around us as well. And it actually allows us to deepen that connection and really show up for that and be more there. Because I feel, yes, it is about connecting to ourselves, but through that, because we stay connected to the moon and, yeah, to the moon really, and the wider natural rhythms, we stay reminded that we are part of something. And I feel also through really building that trust, showing up every day for myself, I'm then also feeling there's so much more ability to show up more fully in my life. And I feel the moon is also such a beautiful reminder of that, because even if I just see a slither at the new moon, the full moon is still there. So I feel that's also a beautiful reminder that we are always full, no matter how we feel, and we are always enough. And I feel that's something, oh God, we can't be reminded often enough that we are enough, because I feel that's, yeah, especially in the concept of linear time, also something that keeps happening. Like we are never enough, we're never fast enough, we're never doing enough. And so to really anchor into this feeling of, whoa, oh, maybe I'm enough, I'm full, is really powerful. And it helps me to show up differently in my life, with the people around me, the spaces I inhabit, because I can be more full in myself, and then also set clear boundaries that help to, yeah, really nourish the connections I enter, and doesn't feel so scattered. I feel feels more focused.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's a gift of the moon is that sense of focus too.
Yes.
I feel like it has a very
Mm-hmm.
powerful offering and gift of focus if we allow ourselves to tune into it. I know that a lot of people can still feel that sense of chaos, especially when it's a full moon and it can be illuminating too much, maybe. But I feel like
We all know
I
that feeling.
yeah, definitely. I feel like for me, the more that I have deepened my relationship with the moon, the less chaotic and scattered I can feel even under a full moon because I'm like, oh, it's just illuminating more things in my life, but I can stay grounded and yeah, in tune with whatever's happening with me because I've been practicing that rhythm, right? Of just being coming back to that place of introspection and seeing myself reflected in the different phases of the moon.
Yeah, I feel it's such a gift to feel centered in the moment and what is happening right now, whatever I'm feeling, thinking, whatever is going on. But knowing it's a phase and it will pass and it's going to move through. So yeah, anything is kind of like a weather pattern that will pass. And so I feel that helps me to, weirdly it would, yeah, weirdly it helps me to stay more centered right here and show up for it. Because I feel often this illusion of it's gonna go on forever is just so paralyzing. And yeah, orienting towards the moon and seeing it just pass through the phases over and over again. Yeah, really, that image helps to remember.
Mhm. Yeah, and fascinating when there's a lunar eclipse, which we just had, that we get to witness that, whether we're seeing it visually or witnessing it in our own experience, that that whole cycle happens in a couple of few hours. And for me, I've been really paying attention the last few years in how those lunar eclipses affect me, and also how they offer an opportunity for, like, I find it interesting that this lunar eclipse just happened right before going into Mercury retrograde, and that both of those aspects of astrology feel like opportunities to kind of like with the lunar eclipse, it feels like an accelerated moment of reflection. It's like all of this can happen within a few hours, what usually takes like a whole moon cycle to happen. So it is kind of cool because it like takes, the way I experience it, it takes me out of that very steady like cycle, the moon cycle, and then there's just this like snippet of time where it's like, whoo, this whole thing just happens in a few hours and it's very powerful. And I like to stay as grounded as I can in those moments. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I'm not sure if I have any further thoughts on that, but just reflecting on how the lunar eclipses offer that like acceleration, but it is again momentary too, right? So um,
A little fairy friend just passed through the
all the
screen.
furry friends. It's like, well, you're not gonna let me outside. I'm gonna come up on your table.
Just for everybody who's listening, we are talking about a cat.
Talking about a cat. Eden and I both have lots of cats in our lives all the time, coming and going. Yeah.
What do you feel is the biggest takeaway from the last cycle of mystical imagination for you?
For me, it has been, I've, that's a big question, Ina.
Yeah, I just
The
thought I'd hit you
biggest
with
one.
it.
I feel like because as we've talked about before, when we are creating the lunar portals, we really step into that theme and those energies. And so the mystical imagination has been really like working its magic in my life on a lot of different levels for a while now. And through this lunar cycle, I feel like it has really just being allowing myself to stand in the center of that, what is possible in the realms of mystical imagination, has opened up so many different avenues of possibilities in my life. And it's really helped me break through some of the some of the more, I would say they were dormant, limiting beliefs that were just sort of like there. And like I knew they were there, but they weren't super active, but they were creating a hindrance in my life. And so just yeah, allowing myself to stand and to be in that essence of mystical imagination where the possibilities are endless and the expansiveness just keeps on coming, and really opening myself up to that through a lot of it through dance and through listening to music and through choosing like to have more affirmative language and actions in my life that are just chipping away at those dormant limiting beliefs and shadows and stuff, and using the power of imagination to integrate some of those shadows that have kept me in a place of lack rather than abundance, or in a place of like control rather than flow. And um yeah, so I honestly feel like this moon cycle and being in the essence of mystical imagination has just created this huge expansiveness in my life, that I am now using the moon, or not just now, but have been using the moon, and maybe becoming more aware of the need to really continue that strengthening of the relationship with the moon, so that I don't get like carried too far away into what's possible and just keeping everything coming back and like using those writing prompts to reflect back and slowing down. And so yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, was just allowing myself to be in that space and to see what happened and just stay open to everything that's coming through. And thankfully, I've done a lot of work around discernment and like, trusting my instinct, and always still work around that to do, but I feel like in a really good place of being able to see and welcome opportunities into my life and know which ones to move towards and which ones to maybe put on the back burner or not pursue. And yeah, it's not what I was expecting to when I like was delving into the realms of mystical imagination. I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna like start writing stories that are like very imaginative and in the fairy realms and stuff. And in a way, it is just the story of my life that is unfolding right now. And that's what needs to happen in this moment. So
Thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. I'm actually curious, whoever is listening, how your moon cycle unfolded, whether you've been traveling with us with the lunar portal or not. Yeah, if you feel like sharing, please do so in the comments. That would be amazing. We are always curious to hear how your journey unfolds and what it feels like to write your story. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that too. And if it's somebody that we know personally, you're welcome to send us voice memos with your story and your unfoldings if that seems more accessible. I love receiving voice memos from people, and I know it's easier sometimes than getting in the comment box. But yeah, whatever way you want to communicate that to us is beautiful. And if you feel the desire or impulse to answer that question too, I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway is or biggest inspiration from this lunar portal cycle.
Focus, actually, which I also didn't expect. Yeah, I expected kind of a flowing, chaotic, just following my imagination everywhere, like with the spring energy as well, like everything just popping up out of the earth. And it was a little bit off that, but it was mainly like becoming really clear, yeah, where I want to focus, where I want to direct myself and my energy, and also a really determined sense of, okay, I'm making it happen, but in a very flowy way, like supported by everything, all the resources I have already. And yeah, really focusing on how does it feel, what I'm doing, rather than the outcome, because I feel, yeah, if I'm not feeling alive and possible, but chased all the time in what I'm doing, I'm not gonna accomplish anything. So I have actually been writing a lot of stories, not about fairies. But, yeah, so yeah, focus, I feel, is my biggest takeaway from this yeah, journey with mystical imagination.
That's beautiful too. I'm happy for you to have discovered that for yourself in this cycle. Yeah. That feels like a pretty good place to wrap things up and allow for the space of our own integration as we take in what just occurred in our sharings, and for the people who are listening and you're listening, and what it might have activated in you or stirred up in you or inspired in you. And yeah, like Ina said before too, we'd love to hear any of that back in the comments or with a message to us or however it flows.
Yeah, and see you next time with courage and discovery.
Ooh, excited about that one.
Thank you for listening to the Lunar Portal Podcast.
It has been an absolute pleasure to be accompanied by you in this conversation through this lunar portal as we journeyed together through this time and space. We hope the Lunar Portal offered you spaces of nourishment and inspiration through the changing tides of your life.
If this sparked your curiosity, have a look at the Lunar Portal Moon Calendar and Guidebook, a gently guided resource kit that includes a moon calendar, a galaxy painting, a meditation, a playlist to move to, writing prompts, a ritual, and lots of information, inspiration and wisdom around this new moon. We would love to accompany you and hold you on your journey to embrace your own pace, connect to your intuition, make space for your well-being, and establish a deep trust in what you know with small acts of awareness each day. You can find all the information you need in the links below, and feel free to connect to either of us with any questions or curiosities you might have around the Lunar Portal Inner Galactic Moon Guide. For now, we want to say
thank you for your courage, curiosity, and trust. We feel honored and blessed that you chose to venture into this conversation of this lunar cycle on a journey of discovering our own and your inner landscape.
we hope to see your return so we can journey together with the next coming moon.